Solutions Review is on location at Commvault GO in Nashville, Tennessee. Brought to you by Commvault.
We are here at Commvault GO 2018, and we are lucky enough to have a really interesting customer story that we're going to walk through chronologically, because it's a great example of how disaster recovery and data all kind of come together to solve a real problem that had to be solved. And so we're here with David McCurdy, who is the Chief Technology Officer for the state of Colorado. And you started in 2014.
Yeah, correct.
Right around the time of a fairly prominent data breach.
Yeah, I started at the state in a very exciting time for the state of Colorado and the Office of Information Technology. We had just recently had a major data loss event. It was very public in the press. It was tied to our marijuana repository, so it had an impact directly to customers. And so there was a formal audit done by our state agencies and stuff like that to talk about how the state as a whole could improve its backup and recovery solutions.
Well, and at the time, you didn't have a relationship with Commvault, and this is where I think it's kind of interesting as a customer story. You needed to go find a solution, right? You had a problem, it was a serious problem, it needed to be repaired, and so you went looking for a solution.
Yeah, so I come into the state. I've been given a formal audit. The teams are already working hot and heavy because there is an impetus to change the way we're doing disaster recovery, backups inside the state. So very interesting time to come in, but really, yeah, you're right. We had 14, 15 solutions to get across the state. We were a very new organization. We had just been consolidated, so I represent and manage IT services for all the traditional offices of the governor. So think DMV or Department of Revenue or Health and Human Services. So all those agencies had disparate backup solutions. And that's not the kind of thinking that our legislature and our governor wanted. We were looking at IT consolidation, but more importantly, we were looking at the benefits of that. And so the state went out as part of a formalized RFP process to find a solution or solutions that could make sure this never happened again.
So you really have the perfect storm, right? You have an event, it's a serious event, it's public, and it's a public relations problem. You have a collection of complexity based upon the fact that, you know, as not unique to Colorado, a lot of state organizations haven't really taken data protection all that seriously. And so I think all these things are coming together, and so now you need to move quickly to find a solution. And so what's the process then? What do you begin to do?
You're right. We had a compelling event. We had a major opportunity to succeed, right? And so we went about a very formalized process to evaluate the street, leverage, major white papers, Gartners, things like that to see the lay of the land. I had come in from private sector just then, so I had my own preconceived ideas on what I was looking for, what outputs I was looking for. But the first thing I did was I went and talked to the teams. What were the requirements? What did we need? What kind of information were we trying to protect? What kind of applications were we trying to protect? That's how you choose these type of solutions. Talking to our customers, what was right or wrong about the services they already had in-house? What were they looking for from a requirements perspective? It's all formalized. We published it to the street, and then we went through kind of a rigorous proof of concept process, back and forth debates. There was a lot of input into this process. In the end, we selected a solution. I think we selected the right technology solution for the state. The biggest surprise I had was the kind of energy and engagement the engineers on the street had. I'd only seen it a few times in my life, kind of around when you think about virtualization took off in the market, stuff like that. The team had this kind of buzz. They liked the solution we chose. There was a very big event we held in Denver where we brought in all the engineers from around the state. These people had never worked with each other together. We planned it out, multi-month process, and then we started talking about, okay, how do we bring this application in? How do we bring this agency in? And we methodically rolled through all the agencies of the executive branch and ultimately completed the project on time, successful, and I think we got a great solution in place.
Well, and that's Commvault, and so that was what, 2015, 16, thereabouts?
That's correct. So we finished up the project around 2016. And you're right, we were in a crunch timeline. We already knew we had a backup, recovery, disaster problem. So it wasn't just about finding the right solution, it was about finding the right solution in the right amount of time so we could protect our customers in a way that we felt like we could sleep at night, right?
Well, and so you've really taken a pretty quantum leap toward, what would be considered a world-class solution. So what kind of advice would you offer to maybe other public sectors that, as they think about this sort of thing, because there is this need to step up the game, and I think there's always kind of a little bit of a lag with state and local, federal government really, with regard to data and having more complex solutions. What kind of advice would you offer as they think about going through those, maybe not under the same pressure, but certainly trying to get to a similar outcome?
Yeah, the approach Suma Nalapati, the state CIO, and I have had, we kicked off a very specific initiative when we joined, and I think other private sector or public sector organizations can leverage that, and that this type of activity, this type of technology should be table stakes for IT. If you want to get into innovative things like AI, machine learning, and conversational systems, and all the cool things as a CTO I want to focus on every day, the first thing you got to do is convince your customers you're doing the basics right. When they order a new PC, are they getting it before they start? When your systems are backed up, can they be restored? Can your customers sleep at night, right? You do these table stake things, and the technology innovation and transformation will happen on its own. And so this was one of the core things we focused on. We also focused on consolidating our data centers. We completely changed our application stacks. This was not a singular event. In the last 4 years, we've ripped out more 30-year-old systems than any of the administrations combined, right? Well past 10, and that's all about continuous improvement, it's about innovation, but kind of back to your question, if you think about disaster recovery, backups, protecting the customer data, because that's what we're really talking about. Your customers may not know the language you use, but what they want to know is their data protected? Is their business unit protected? And that's what you're offering, right? And if you sell it in that kind of way, and you can talk about RPO, RTO, that kind of stuff, what they really want to know is, if something goes wrong in an hour, am I going to have this? And so when you think about selecting the technology, select technologies that help enable your customers' outputs. What do they want, and have you selected the right technology for the problem? In this case, I think we've found a great mix for our agencies.
That's solid advice. I think we'll end it there. I don't think there's a better piece of advice that people could take away than what you just said. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.